Welcome everyone to Meet Melbourne 2020, Information Technology and Computer Science. My name is Monica Duggan. I'm the Recruitment Coordinator for the Melbourne School of Engineering and IT, and I'll be moderating tonight's webinar. In a moment, I will introduce you to our panel members, but before I do, I would like to acknowledge the traditional landowners. In the spirit of reconciliation, in which it is especially important being Reconciliation Week this week, the University of Melbourne acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to our elders past and present and extend that respect to all our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I would like to acknowledge that audiences are watching live and attending from Melbourne, around Australia, countries overseas and in different time zones. Due to this fact, the audience tonight being so varied and worldwide, we'll not be covering entry requirements in the presentation. However, we are happy to answer those questions in the chat or via email afterwards. I would now like to welcome our presenter, Associate Professor Shanton Chang, who is Research and Teaching Academic at the School of Computing and Information Systems at the University of Melbourne. He's also Associate Dean International at the Melbourne School of Engineering. His research includes information behaviours from a socio-technical perspective, with particular interest in health, business and educational contexts, information needs and information behaviour, information security and organisational cultures, and qualitative research methodologies. Say hi to Associate Professor Shanton Chang. Thank you, Shanton. We also have a panel of students and alumni joining us tonight. Please welcome Emma Arrigo, who has completed the Bachelor of Science and is currently completing the Master of Data Science. Emma interned at AWS over summer. Emma was also the President of the Mathematics and Statistics Society. Welcome, Emma. Please welcome Yiran Wang, who is currently completing a Bachelor of Science. She's also a Study Melbourne Ambassador, Live Project Business Consultant, and Head of Data Analytics in Beyond Melbourne Ambassadors Project. Welcome, Yiran. Say hello to Ben Gray, who has completed the Bachelor of Science and Masters of Engineering Software with Business. Ben is now a senior consultant with Deloitte and assists leaders in large organisations to imagine, plan and deliver technology change. He was also very active in student clubs while at the university. Welcome to Ben. Our final panellist is Akansha Pandey, who has completed a Bachelor in Computer Science and a Master of Information Systems from the University of Melbourne. Currently, she's working as a security specialist at Telstra. She has worked in areas such as cybersecurity risk and the Telstra Security Operations Centre, along with emerging technologies and the AI ethics field. She was very active in student clubs while at the university, and recently she's been selected to be the committee member for the Australian Women in Security Network. Welcome, Akansha. This session will run for a total of 45 minutes, where Shanton will give an overview of information technology and computer science at Melbourne. Our panellists will discuss their experiences, and finally, time permitting, I will ask any questions that are being asked from the audience. Along the way, should you have any questions, please type them into the chat window, and these will be read and responded to by my colleagues Danielle, Miriam, Rahul and Katie from our engineering and IT team, as well as our colleagues from our central team, Karen, John, Ali and Louise, who are off screen for the duration of the webinar. Questions not answered tonight can be submitted to our study website after the webinar, and this link will be displayed at the end. Tonight's session is being recorded and can be accessed afterwards via a link that will be sent to all participants. I will now hand over to Associate Professor Shanton Chang for his presentation.
Hi everyone, thank you very much Monica, and thank you very much to my former and current students as well for joining us, and thank you to the audience all around the world for joining us as well. What I do want to share with you today is about studying IT, and studying IT is not easy to understand because it means so many different things around the world, and it means very different things even within our school. So I want to start by saying thank you for coming, and I hope that you work through this and that you'll find this very interesting. So First of all, I want to say a little bit about the Melbourne curriculum. We have both an undergraduate degree program followed by a graduate degree, or you can go straight into work. And you will find that we have a range of programs across both the undergraduate and the master's level program, and I will cover the whole range of that. But first, I want to start by looking at your journey in the future. The most important thing to us is what happens to our students once they have graduated. So to look at that, we're interested in the kind of jobs that students will be going into and the kind of industries that they could be a part of because of studying IT. Now, I can quote lots of statistics for you, but I thought what would be more interesting when you look at these slides, when you review the slides, is that you have a look at some of the articles around the place, looking at where there is a shortage of IT skills around the world. It's not just in Australia, but all around the world, there is a huge shortage of IT skills. And what do we mean by those IT skills? I'm going to be covering the rest of the presentation. While demand for IT jobs and skills are increasing all over the world, in places like Australia here, a lot of companies are saying that they find it really difficult to recruit the top IT students. Part of it is because there's not enough of them. I'm going to show you this slide, which shows you that, amongst the enrollment in all the different disciplines that you can, different subjects that you can do at any university in Australia, you will find, and if you follow my mouse here, that information technology, IT, is one of the lowest in terms of students actually enrolling into courses at universities to actually cover this discipline. Now, given that a lot of jobs are out there and companies are looking for IT skills, and the lack of people enrolling in IT skills, you start to see why companies are starting to get a bit worried that there are so few people studying IT here in Australia. This pattern is repeated in many parts of Southeast Asia, in the UK, and North America as well. And this is why, if you think about what's going on right now around the world, where the demand for IT skills has actually increased because we are all working from home using technology, using software, using the cloud, all these sorts of things point to the fact that there is a future for IT skills. However, IT skills means different things to different people. And for you, if you're interested in IT in the future, it's actually quite important for you to think about what sort of IT you want to be engaged in. So the way that I talk about this, to make it as simple as possible, it's kind of like saying, if you're interested in studying medicine, right? People don't immediately assume that you're going to be a GP. Some of you might want to be a surgeon, some people might be pediatricians, some people would be oncologists, and some people would actually look at epidemiology. So you see, when you look at medicine, people understand that there are different areas of medicine that people can study in, and they all require very, very different skills, right? In the same way, in the IT world, it is actually quite complex. IT is no longer just one thing. And a lot of people think of IT as just computer science or software engineering. However, I'm going to show you today that there are quite a few different areas of IT, and they require different types of students, different types of employees, and different skill sets. So the trick to having success in the IT world is knowing what sort of IT you are. And I hope that by the end of this presentation, you will start to understand what the differences are between computer science, software engineering, UX designers, people who are working with Google Maps, all of those sorts of things. So if you're ready, let's go for this ride. The key thing about studying IT at Melbourne is that we are actually one of the top IT schools in the world. And for us to do that, it means that we take our student employability really seriously. And it means that across our bachelor and master's level, what we do is not just to teach IT in the classroom, but also in practice. You can't just study IT via theory. I think that's a misnomer. And so what we do is give you the fundamentals so that you are able to learn, because one of the key things about working in IT is you will continually learn and learn new stuff as you go along. But at the same time, we need to give you quite practical skills as well. So it's about that balance between the two. And that's why our students do so well. So I'm going to start with computer science. This is the one that a lot of people are familiar with. And that's normal because this was the very first IT discipline in the world. Okay. And if you look at what is the study of computer science, this is the traditional kind of very heavily focused on programming type of studies. It's really looking at things like programming languages, operating systems, the theory of computation, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, computer graphics, machine learning. So basically, it's all the programming that goes into the computer that drives the computer. It is the language that drives the way computers work. It's the algorithms that programmers build to make sure that your computers work. Probably some people would say this is the most hardcore IT because it's real interest in programming, and you have to have very strong logical thinking skills and preferably very strong mathematics as well. So these are the people who design, analyze, and implement complex software systems that involve computer networks, databases, and web services. So, the reality is only a small percentage of the IT world are people who are employed in computer science because others are enrolled in other things. So for our students who want to do computer science, you can do it via the Bachelor of Science or the Bachelor of Design with majors in computing, computing and software systems, or at the master's level, you can do a Master of Computer Science where you do in-depth studies into things like AI and machine learning and the Internet of Things. So that's computer science. That's a bit different to the software engineers. The software engineers, although they're interested in programming, they're interested also in providing solutions for the rest of us. So if there were no software engineers, I always jokingly say, then we would all need to understand programming language in order to use a computer. The reality is, thank goodness for the software engineers because they are the people who build software and they are the people who build apps. And with that, all we have to do is press a few buttons and we can interact with any computer systems. Sounds quite different to the computer scientists. The computer scientists look at the algorithm, the software engineers build on that so that they build interfaces that we can work with. And so the software engineers create large software systems that we take for granted whenever we do online shopping, when we book a hotel. Well, not so much at the moment, but in the future, when we use the internet, even the apps that we use. These are all the products of large teams of software engineers working together to actually build things that we can use to interface with a computer. So think of it as inside the box for computer scientists, and the interface is for software engineers. At the University of Melbourne, you can do this via the Bachelor of Science, looking at the computing and software systems major, or the Bachelor of Design. You can then go on to do a Master of Engineering in Software, or like Ben, who's going to join us later, be part of the Master of Engineering Software with Business Program, or the Master of Information Technology, right? So I seem to have covered a lot of things. What else is there? I'm going to go through a few more. The next one is a specialist area of study called spatial information. Spatial information, space. This is actually about the fundamental questions of where, what, and when. So if you've ever used Google Maps, you've actually benefited from the work of a spatial scientist, a spatial information systems practitioner. These are the people who build the Google Maps. These are the people who look at things like smart cities, who control traffic, the driverless cars. Without this group of people, none of those things I just mentioned would be possible. So basically, you have the use of maps, mobile location-aware services, and virtual environments. So again, we have a whole suite of study that enables you to look at this if you are interested in mobile location-aware services and maps, for example, and virtual environments. For this, we've got a Master of Engineering in Spatial. You can also do it undergraduate by focusing on the Spatial Systems major in either the Bachelor of Design or the Bachelor of Science, okay? Now, this is my home discipline. I'm from Information Systems. How is this different? Of all the ones that I've talked about, all the different IT roles that I've talked about so far, this is probably the least technical. In information systems, we look at systems as not just IT, but how IT interacts with the world, or how the rest of the world interacts with IT. We're actually interested in the embedding of IT into businesses, organizations, not-for-profits, and government. We're interested in creating value from the deployment of IT and IT solutions. So we don't do the programming, we work with the programmers and the software engineers to convey the business needs and the organization's needs. And we integrate business and IT together. So therefore, you have this field of study called information systems. And a lot of information systems students and graduates tend to work for the consulting firms looking at business IT solutions, business analytics. And for this group, you can either do it through the usual majors in the undergraduate, but also the Master of Information Systems. And at the executive level, the Master of IT Management or the Master of Business Analytics for people who are aiming to become Chief Information Officer or Chief Technology Officers. So we are the people who I jokingly say sometimes we help them make the money, right? Because it's about adding value to organizations and businesses. The next one is data science and informatics. You would have heard everywhere that there is a huge demand for jobs related to big data. Now, data science is not just statistics. Data science and informatics is really about building on not just your statistical skills, but also using technology and also IT solutions to bring together the two sets of skills in order to do the understanding, manipulation, visualization, integration, and exploiting of scientific data. Now, people who work in data science have to be good at both the IT, the programming side, as well as the maths and stats, right? And Emma, who will join us later, is in the Master of Data Science and she'll be able to talk about that a little bit more. You can study in the data science major, in the Bachelor of Science, go on to do the Master in Data Science or the Master of IT, where you do a bit more data analytics as well. And these are the people who like to understand data and how it can be used to help solve problems of the world. And industries from the financial sector through to the health sector to the government sector require a lot of people who have these skills. It's really important. The last group is the user experience designers, the UX, human-computer interaction. If you look at this picture, it kind of, I think this is one of the cooler areas of IT. This is the group of people who actually explore and evaluate the usefulness of IT programs and software and technology for deriving human-computer interaction. That means if you look at that picture, it's actually a scientist working and communicating with an orangutan at the Melbourne Zoo, right? So this is actually human-computer animal interaction. These are the people who say, you know, if somebody builds a software, how usable is it? Does it create a good experience so that people want to come back and use it? Does it influence you to want to engage more with the website and the technology? This is a particular group that's really interested in how people interact with technology. And this is called user experience. And in the Bachelor of Design, you can do a digital technology major, you can do a Master of IT in human-computer interaction, or you can do elements of it in the Master of Information Systems. So you start to see there's computer science, which is the most highly technical. There's software engineers who build the software, spatial information who look at location aware and Google Maps type of technology. You've got the information systems people who look at business and IT or organization and IT interfaces. You've got the data scientists who look at data, and you've got the user experience, right? So you start to see that you might fit into one or two of them, but not likely will you be able to do all of them. And you start to see that in some of those majors, I talk a lot more about the need for logical thinking and maths and programming, whereas others are more creative and thinking more about human-computer interaction. The last thing I want to talk a little bit about is this idea that you would probably have heard of terms like other key IT areas like cybersecurity, information security, health informatics, bioinformatics, cyber ethics, and smart cities. Now, why did I not talk about this in the 6 that I talked to you about? Well, it's simply this. These are areas of interest to people, and it's almost like an area of practice. The reality is, if you look at cybersecurity and information security, you're going to have people who are computer scientists, software engineers, information systems, UX people, all working together on projects that enhance cybersecurity. Same thing with something like smart cities or bioinformatics. You get all these different skills of people working together to solve problems in smart city, in bioinformatics, all that sort of stuff. So it requires different groups of IT skills to work together. Okay. All right, so I think that would give you an idea of what sort of background you need and what sort of things you need to be doing in order to figure out what sort of IT you are interested in. So I'm just going to go back to the slides very quickly, and for you to think a little bit, which IT are you? So you start to see they're all very different. Are you a computer scientist? Do you just want to focus on programming? Or do you prefer to build apps and software? Do you like playing with maps and location and mobile services? Are you interested more actually in commerce and business and how IT is used to solve world problems? Or do you really just want to play with data and that's really something you're passionate about? Or have you got that gripe with particular technologies that are not working very well and you want to create more user-friendly experiences through the interface with technology? With all of those skills or any of those skills, you can go into some of these project areas. So in a nutshell, IT is different across different areas, and everybody who is interested in it, whether they are more technical or less technical, they should be able to find something that appeals to them. For example, we have had art students and nursing students join us in this and go on to do a Master of Information Systems in the health area, for example, or in arts curation and digital arts and digital marketing. So it doesn't mean that you all have to have programming. If you want to go into computer science and data science, then you need programming. But if you are thinking of UX or information systems, less so. But they are all IT skills that we talk about. That's just a sample of the course plan. This is an example of a software engineering course. You'll see that there's actually quite a lot of what we call core subjects at the first 2 years, and then there's advanced specialization and elective subjects, depending on the area that you're interested in. Okay, I think that's enough from me. I'm going to let my student panel and my alumni panel introduce themselves and take it from there. Monica, would you like to take back the presentation?
Yes, hello. Thank you very much, Shanton. Every time I see you present, I learn something new. So yes, I'll invite the student and alumni panel back once they come back to us. I'd love to find out, perhaps, Emma, could you tell me a little bit about Emma, how you improved your employability while you were studying?
Well, at Melbourne, I like to call myself a professional intern. I've done a lot of internships, and Melbourne provides opportunities within your course to do a placement to get cross credit and get an internship opportunity, and then that's just experience and credit. It's double bonus. I also, the university clubs, they all run like hackathons, which are all really important, and you also get to explore other things in like computing and IT through hackathons, like mentoring sessions at like the uni has mentoring. So just taking advantage of everything that the university offers to expand your horizon more than just doing subjects, I have found really useful for employability.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. And it's certainly one of the most asked questions that we get when we speak to students. So hearing firsthand that it is actually, there are great ways to increase that employability is really, really great. Ben, you've got, obviously a senior consultant at Deloitte. Tell us a bit about how you paved your way to there.
Yeah, so my pathway as I think Shanton or Monica you mentioned earlier, I studied a Bachelor of Science and then a Master of Engineering at Melbourne. And the path I took through, I guess, wasn't extremely straightforward, because when I actually started my Bachelor of Science, I was more focusing on a pathway towards chemical engineering. But what I was able to do with the Melbourne curriculum is really take some breadth subjects that were outside of that core focus. And I had a little bit of a play around with computer science in my second year, and I'd never programmed before that point, but I just really enjoyed it. And having looking back on it, I can see that I really like the structure that it gets and the satisfaction when something kind of works because it works, and just how quickly with technology versus maybe other disciplines you can actually build something and then see it work right in front of you with not too much setup or things that you need to purchase to play around with that. So I went from kind of a chemical engineering focus into computer science in my third year for my major. And then what I decided is that I really wanted to bridge that programming focus and technology and what I understood about information technology, but bring that to the business world. So what I do today is actually probably more closely aligned with information systems, but what I did was studied a software engineering degree because I really wanted to continue learning more about the really cool things I could assemble with information technology. But as Shanton mentioned, I also took a business sort of sub-specialization as well. So I was able to really expand my understanding of the business world as well and start to figure out how I can kind of bring technology and business together, which is what I do today.
Great, and I can see that clearly you're a great advocate for the Melbourne curriculum because you were able to explore those other interests in your breadth subjects. So was that something that perhaps stood out for your employers, that you had that interdisciplinary offering?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I can't speak for what all different types of employers look for, but I know certainly in consulting in Australia, and I expect elsewhere in the world as well, one of the key things that they're looking for in people applying for consulting work is often just a general sense of, I guess, knowledge about lots of things and interest and passion in learning and that sort of thing. And yeah, to be able to say, I've studied software engineering, but I also know about a bit about business and a bit about chemical engineering, and I also studied finance, by the way, as well, a couple of subjects in that, which I really recommend, by the way. Yeah, that definitely goes a long way to show that you're a curious, passionate person. And then, from the other perspective, I genuinely enjoyed it as well. So it wasn't just about, trying to tick the boxes for the next employer. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yiran, can you tell us a little bit about your journey to what's led you to this point?
So I'm currently still studying my bachelor degree. I'm in my final year, so haven't really got that employment or the job aspect. But I've definitely done a lot of volunteering. So as Emma has mentioned, the university has provided a range of mentoring programs, and I have done VCE summer school. And I think along with all these volunteering programs, it really provides me a platform to get to know the people. And I think it's all about knowing like-minded people and then to hear their stories, because a lot of them are more experienced and they are more advanced in their curriculums or their career pathways than me. So for me to get connected with those people and to hear their stories and how their paths kind of connects to their careers has really helped me to gain an idea of what I want to do in the future, which is to kind of combine the data science side and then to actual business operations.
Excellent. Akansha, do you have anything to add as far as from what Ben was saying with employability? What sort of things did you undertake during your studies to help you stand out against other applicants?
Yeah, sure. So to add to Ben's point, I also just to show to the employers that you can do much more than just studying in your area. I pursued my other passion. I'm very passionate about pursuing women in technology. So I joined that club as a secretary, and then I was also industry liaison for CISA. And those are the things that I genuinely enjoyed, because you have a sense of community. People from different students from different fields are coming together to achieve something together, and it also shows to the employer that you are capable of working in an environment not just with your friends, but with different people who work in different fields. That plays an important role, and it also shows to them that you're not just sticking to just studying your subjects and passing your grades. You're showing an all-around personality, that there is much more for you to offer to the organization that you'll be joining. You'll be bringing your different personality. Someone might be interested in swimming, so they can join swimming. You don't have to do what I did. It's just that showing that if you have an interest, or if you have you like data science, then you can join a club, or you can start a club, or you can do something. I also did participate in case studies to show that not just these things. I'm also interested in cybersecurity side of things, to show that I also participated in Capture the Flag, which is like doing defending computer systems. So yeah, these things come together when you sit down for an interview and you outshine from other candidates.
Wonderful. Can I ask you all a very kind of basic question? A lot of our a lot of the participants or the audience members tonight are from an undergraduate or about to undertake undergraduate studies, so in a high school level. And so I just wondered, out of interest, what would your favourite subject have been at university? Perhaps, Emma, you might be able to start us off with that one.
So it was a breadth subject I did. It was called Eurovisions, and we studied the Eurovision Song Contest. It was marvelous. I probably should say a computing subject, but I honestly loved that.
Fantastic.
And that's the good thing about Melbourne. You get to try out different things. And
what sort of other students are in the Eurovision subject? Are they?
It's a collection of people.
Okay.
Like there's arts majors, there's engineering, like it's everybody. It's great. So that's another benefit.
And I guess that's the beauty of doing a breadth subject. You're not just your network is broadened, because it's not just IT people. Yeah. Ben, can you remember back to your favourite subject, or one or two? Have you?
Yeah, so this is I'm gonna sound like a big nerd, but my favourite subject was a master's one on high integrity systems development. So that was with called Tim Miller. He's really good. And yeah, that's really about. So I mean, a lot of the information technology systems that you deal with every day, they'll often have little quirks or occasionally go down or that sort of thing. But this subject was about creating the kind of software and broader systems controlled by software which don't go down. And not many people in the world, even though there are so many IT professionals, not many people actually know how to develop those kinds of systems, the kind of systems that, fly aircraft and that sort of thing, where there's absolutely no room for failure of any kind in the software system. So I really enjoyed learning about how that is built and what kind of techniques are used. But I also did, when I was in undergrad, I did study a subject as breadth called World Music Choir, which is the total opposite. So I love singing and music, and that was a really interesting one as well, because the kind of music that we were performing sounded a lot different to the music I was used to, and is really enjoyable to perform actually. So yeah, but there are a bunch. I also really loved finance, like I said before. I still use that kind of knowledge just to manage my finances today, and really think about how I manage money. So yeah, I've enjoyed a lot of them, to be honest.
Oh, wonderful. I hear that music and finance go hand in hand, or maths and music go hand in hand. Not sure if that's true or not. Who did we not cover? Akansha, did you mention your favourite subject at university?
No, not yet. So my favorite subject, and I'm with you, Ben, on this, I'm going to sound a nerd as well, was information security, because that was the subject that, so when I got interested into cybersecurity, I had this very narrow view of their particular fields in security, and that's what I was sticking to. But doing that subject, I realized that there is more to security, and also talking to my professors during tutorials and during lectures, with all the guest lectures that we used to have during our lectures, I realized there is so much more to security than what I had thought of initially, and that was like an eye-opener for me. And it became a very quickly became my favorite subject, because I was not only studying what was taught, but I was also at the same time, through these guest lectures, talking to professors, because the professors I had, they were actually working in cybersecurity in different organizations. So you get that understanding of what is happening in real world. And as Shanton was mentioning in his presentation, that cybersecurity is a practice. So the more you interact with people, the more you understand what is out there, what are different kinds of fields within cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is quite broad, and that was the understanding I got through. It was like an all-around experience, because I could talk to people from industries, because they were my professors, and then I could actually study what they were telling, teaching me. So yeah.
Wow, that's a great answer. Yiran, do you have anything that off the top of your head that you can think of as your favourite subject?
I'm just gonna go with like my first year computing subject. It is a must for anyone who would like to enter the discipline. It's called 1001,
Agreed.
the foundation of computing.
It sparked
Yeah,
love.
yeah. Like as I feel like before heading into university, I actually had the intention of studying engineering, or I was thinking mechanical engineering, and I took computing, the foundations of computing as an elective subject. However, I ended up hating physics in the first semester, and actually found out that I actually enjoy programming a bit more. So that is like the first thing that introduced me to the discipline. So and also standing at a third year point of view, you're looking back onto first year, you realize the first year's subjects are actually a very good stepping stone if you're coming from a background where you have no previous knowledge on programming. It's a really good introductory subject. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah, that's great to know firsthand. We often get asked that question as well. Do I need any background in computing to undertake a foundation subject? So,
Monica, can I just comment very quickly on Emma and Ben's favorite subjects? It sounds like Eurovision and choir singing has nothing to do with IT, but actually at the master's level where I teach, I do send a group of my IT students to drama training. Because the reality is that the subjects that you are doing outside of IT actually enhance your ability to do presentations and to be able to communicate. And subjects like Eurovision and choir singing means that you are able to confidently talk about quite complex technical things with a bunch of strangers. Now, not many IT people can actually do that. The fact that you can do it because you've done those subjects is actually a very important skill. You hear a lot of comments in the IT about the IT industry that is run by a bunch of nerds who can only talk to computers but not to people. Obviously, the four that we have here can talk to people, and a lot of that has to do with not just the things that they're running outside of the classroom, but also the kind of interesting subjects that they can do outside of IT. We love it when students tell us they love doing music and they love doing arts and languages. Fantastic.
Yeah. Shanton, we've got a question from the audience for you, and I'm just going to read this out for you.
Sure.
It says, thanks for your presentation. In the graph you used to showcase the number of enrolments into information technology, the latest statistic is from 2016. Seeing as 4 years has passed and speaking as a potential graduate in the mid-2020s, do you think the IT industry will be too saturated by the time I might graduate, or will a shortage of any extent still remain?
That's a very good question. I think that if you, even as recently as February last year, if you go through the ABC News, the Australian Defence Force actually for the first time said, we are in trouble because we don't have enough IT, Australian students doing IT to build a cyber defense, right? It is not something you can outsource. The reality is that at all levels of industry and government, there is a real shortage in IT skills, even as we speak today. And we keep telling, all the universities are actually working together on this with the various government bodies to try and encourage more people to think about doing IT. The reason that people are not doing IT, the numbers continue to be low, is they all think that they're all going to end up being computer scientists in a dungeon, eating pizza and not having a shower. There's all these really outdated ideas about what IT is, when in actual fact, IT is running the world, right? IT is being used across all the different sectors. Earlier on, I gave an example of we even have people in IT working at the zoo, right? IT is the one area that covers all the different industries. And you start to see that it's not just about the fact that you're going to study IT, you're going to get an IT job. But having an IT skill can open the door to many different jobs across different industries. So, for example, in the information systems world, somebody with an IT background, then moving on to information systems, then can take that IT skill to work in the finance sector or in the business sector or for the government or in the arts industry. So it's not saturated, because the reality is in Australia, we're pretty desperate for students to actually build those skills and take it back to industry.
I mean, I wouldn't mind investing in Zoom a few months ago or a few years ago. So certainly there's software that is booming at the moment. The other question I had for all of you was how do, and Shanton, you may also have an answer for this, but how does the experience at the University of Melbourne introduce you to industry? So often students come and say, yes, it's great to have a good quality education, but we really need to be building on industry connections and networks. Has anyone got a particular comment about that?
So I interned at a startup in my master's, so that was an amazing experience to try a startup, and I got credit for that. And so, yeah, like you had to go find the internship, which I think was also really useful and interesting to find where you wanted to go. So yeah, lots of opportunities to get to industry experience before you graduate.
Fantastic. I know, Akansha, you had an answer as well.
Yeah, so I would say, because you're part of Melbourne University, the thing I found that helped me a lot to meet different people from different walks of life in the industry was attending the events like Industry Night or having presentations from different companies where people from like a company senior would come and give you the presentation and share their experiences. And societies like CISA and Women in Tech within Melbourne University, that's what we were doing. We were trying to connect people to industry people so that they can actually understand, is this the field that they really want to go, or talk to people, develop that relationship. So I would say if you become a part of such university, just make sure to find and it's not like it is easily available, all these kind of events on intranet page of university. So just try to find those universities, try to join those clubs that interest you, because I'm sure any club that you join, they would be focusing on these sort of things.
Excellent.
I think we bring on average 1 to 2 companies onto campus or onto webinar a week. Sometimes students are like, oh, there are too many of them, we can't be bothered. But actually, it's actually good because, and I know Ben used to be responsible for bringing a lot of companies onto campus to help share their experience with students too, right? Isn't that right, Ben? You used to do that?
Yeah, that's right. So I was industry liaison for CISA for a while, essentially the IT club at Melbourne Uni, and then was the president the following year. And a big part of what we did was trying to bring potential employers essentially for our student base onto campus. One, to explain what they do and try to recruit, but then also to give some insight to students about kind of what's out there and what's after university.
Excellent. I think we've just about covered all of the questions, so I might wrap up now. I want to wrap up by thanking you, Emma, Yiran, Ben, Akansha, and also to our Associate Professor Shanton Chang for presenting tonight. And thank you to our behind the scenes colleagues from engineering, Danielle, Mim, Katie, Rahul, Karen, John, Ali and Louise. There's quite the team in the background. And also a shout out to Barney for technical support and for Fiona for this enormous job of putting this all together. This is the final webinar in this series of 13, and so it's been an enormous undertaking. So I thank you everyone for your support. Thank you to the audience members for attending and for your wonderful questions. Just a reminder that any further information is available on our Melbourne Study website, so please go to the link on the screen there. And also, if we haven't reached your question or you would like to speak to us further, you can always reach out to us by submitting an online inquiry. Contact us and stay connected with the University of Melbourne and through the link on screen now. That's the end of tonight's webinar. Thank you and good night.